The PS6 just leaked. There's a secret PS5 update and it rules. And God of War Ragnarök is breaking all sorts of PlayStation records. How's it going, everyone? As always, my name is Jimmy Champagne and this is PSReady. So the first story we're going to jump into is that God of War Ragnarök is breaking all sorts of PlayStation records. So in its first week, it sold 5.1 million copies, which not only was a franchise record for the God of War franchise as a whole, but it also made it the fastest selling PlayStation first-party game ever. Now, unfortunately, that record was quickly beaten by Scarlet and Violet, which came out around the same time. They sold like 10.1 million copies of those games in the same amount of time. But really, I think God of War is the one that I would pick over the two after just seeing how terribly Pokemon Scarlet and Violet run on the Switch. But just seeing how mainstream the Switch has gotten at this point, and it's had a huge head start on the PlayStation 5 and really is playing in a different league than the PS5 and Xbox Series X. I don't really think it's saying that God of War is worse than Pokemon Scarlet and Violet just because it sold half as many copies in the same amount of time, because the numbers you're playing with there are absolutely insane. I also saw a lot of conversation about God of War Ragnarök where people were saying, oh, this game has not really dominated the hype cycle all that much, but for once it seems like the reasoning for that is that people were actually being cool about not majorly spoiling the game. I didn't really start seeing a ton of TikToks or tweets or even YouTube videos until well after the game had released, and now, like over a couple weeks later, maybe 3 weeks later at this point, correct me if I'm wrong, it seems like I cannot escape videos all over the place about God of War Ragnarök. And after basically 100%ing the game, there's a little bit of endgame stuff I still have to do when I get back to California. I absolutely love this game. I can't really like comment on the whole like Elden Ring versus God of War Ragnarök thing because I never beat Elden Ring. I started it a billion times and I just never really had enough time to sit down and play it like I did with Ragnarök. But by the end of the year, I want to play Elden Ring, but I'm just telling you right now, God of War Ragnarök is going to be very hard to beat as my game of the year. Like to the point where this entire time I've been chilling out here in Michigan for Thanksgiving, I've been playing God of War on my laptop, the 2018 one, and it's just so good. I love how similar the games are because they play similarly enough where you can just jump back in to God of War 2018 and everything works out. I will say there's a couple things missing from 2018 that I really wish were in Ragnarök. One of those being the quick turn. I use that all the time in God of War 2018, and I realized while I was playing Ragnarök, you don't have the hit down on the D-pad to do a quick 180, and also there was a move that they took out when you moved on to Ragnarök where you could throw the axe and it would bounce off the enemy's head, and then if you called it back quick enough, it would flash, and then you could throw it again for a higher powered throw. As far as I'm aware, I've unlocked every skill in God of War Ragnarök, so I'm like 99.9% sure that's not in the game, but if it is, please let me know, because that was honestly my favorite move to just spam in God of War 2018. But regardless, I'm glad to see this game breaking records because for me personally, it hit on all fronts. It was technically very sound. There weren't a lot of bugs at all. I think the game crashed once for me during a boss fight, and when I got back into the game, I had to just jump back in where I was at the beginning of the fight. So really no harm, no foul there. The frame rate stayed 99.9% of the time locked at 60 frames per second. The only time I ever saw it drop the entire game was just using the boat in Vanaheim, so it wasn't during a fight or anything like that. And the amount of content you get is great for $70. So if you need another glowing review of God of War Ragnarök, there you have it. We talked about this a few videos back, but The Witcher 3 is officially getting its new upgrade for next-gen consoles, which is a free upgrade, by the way. So if you have any edition of The Witcher 3, you can take advantage of this upgrade completely for free, which is awesome. It's happening on December 14th, and they put out a trailer over on the CD Projekt Red YouTube channel, and I was not really prepared for how much better this game looks. So I originally played The Witcher 3 on PC just because a game from CD Projekt. I'm never not going to play that on PC. That's just the kind of person I am. I played The Witcher 1 and 2 on PC, so I played 3 on PC. It looked really good, and I don't know if it's just my memory failing me here or something like that, but I honestly think this next-gen update for the game on PlayStation 5 honestly makes it look as good, if not better, than the PC version I played back in 2015 when this game first came out. So some of the improvements you're going to get are, of course, improved lighting. You're going to get 4K textures. You're You're going to get some gameplay improvements, which they're not really clear on that. You're going to get ray tracing. And most importantly, you're getting a 60 FPS upgrade for this game. Now, this is a game where I think it would honestly play totally fine at 30 FPS. There's nothing really going on that crazy where having that double in frame rate would really help you all that much, but there isn't a single game out there that isn't improved by being played at 60 frames per second. So I'm glad to see that this upgrade was just included for free. I think they could have just done it as a small patch, so it's cool to see them kind of rework pretty much the entire game. It's just another huge piece of CD Projekt Red's redemption arc, which they've been on, of course, with Cyberpunk 2077, and now we're getting all these massive free upgrades for The Witcher 3. Now, I get that they basically had to delay this a lot. I'm pretty sure it was supposed to be out in 2020, that they took it away from Saber Interactive and just finished it in-house, but regardless, it's here. It's coming December 14th. I don't know if I'm going to give this game another playthrough. I've actually played it twice at this point. I just have quite a few games on my plate right now. I mean, this week alone, I have the Callisto Protocol. I'm still not done with my God of War 2018 playthrough, but I just wanted to let you guys know that The Witcher 3's next-gen upgrade looks way better than halfway decent. I'd honestly say this looks like it's going to be one of the better ones we've gotten for one of these old-gen games. So now that Sony has the Legacy of Thieves collection and Sackboy: A Big Adventure out on PC, and of course Miles Morales just released as well, they are quickly running out of games that they have yet to port. Of course, there's PS5 games like Demon's Souls and Returnal and Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart. They also have the Ghost of Tsushima's Director's Cut, which I would love to see on PC. The Last of Us Part 1, we're still waiting on. Apparently that's coming sooner rather than later. But then after that, they should definitely do The Last of Us Part 2. But for racing fans out there, there's a really interesting game that could be coming soon. Of course, I'm talking about Gran Turismo 7. Now, Microsoft has completely kind of dominated the racing game market on PC for a while now, just basically unchecked. Need for Speed Heat was pretty decent. It looks like Unbound might be cool. Of course, there's Project Cars and all the other games like F1 and all that. But in terms of like open world arcade racing, I think Microsoft is really just taking the crown with the Forza Horizon series, but they also have the Forza Motorsport series, which I'm pretty sure you can play one of the games on PC. But regardless, they're basically the kings of racing games on PC. So it'd be nice to see Sony release Gran Turismo 7 on there, especially considering it's a live service game. So this could be a game where they could test out transferring your save back and forth between PS5 and PC. And that just gets my mind going on playing this game on Steam Deck, because having a good racing game on a handheld is kind of like the best thing ever. I think it's pretty cool that all the game directors and people like that who are kind of cagey about porting their games over to PC when this started happening are now kind of opening up to it, because the producer for Gran Turismo 7 basically said that that's something they're looking into, which to me, I don't think there was any doubt that this game was going to come to PC. I think every PlayStation game is going to come to PC, and my one big hope for that is that the wait times for these ports gets shorter and shorter as time goes on. Of course, Sackboy: A Big Adventure, we're getting 2 years after it came out, but then with games like The Last of Us Part 1, we're getting that a lot sooner than we would have otherwise. So there is a precedent set of games coming to PC sooner than they did before, and that's better than the like 2 or even 3 years we were waiting back in the days of Horizon Zero Dawn, Days Gone, you know, those first PS5 ports that we got. And I gotta point out that when you compare Sony's port work to Microsoft's port work, it's night and day. There isn't a single Microsoft port over the past few years where I haven't had to do tinkering with it outside the actual game. Like I have to go into the NVIDIA control panel and tweak some stuff, change my page file, do all this random stuff just to get games like Psychonauts 2 or Forza Horizon 5 running correctly, whereas with PlayStation ports, the most I've ever had to do outside the actual game with NVIDIA control panel is just turn on VSync there and turn it off within the game, which is so much better than I'm dealing with on pretty much any game lately on PC. Like Modern Warfare 2, for example, was just such a mess at launch and continued to be such a mess for the entire first month this game was out, that it really made me want to take a break from the game and let them iron out a lot of the bugs and patch this game. And the same thing always happens with Microsoft ports, so to see Sony's ports be so good, even though PC is just like a secondary thing for them, it's just that Sony quality that really made me a fan of PlayStation in the first place. And I hope as they make more multiplayer games, like hopefully they have a Killzone game in development, hopefully they have a SOCOM game in development. We still don't know what's going on with the Rainbow Six Siege guy who went over to Guerrilla Games. I hope as those start to come out, they really start to adopt day and date, because the bigger the player base is for a multiplayer game at launch, the bigger it's going to stay in the long term. While Gran Turismo 7 is cool, I'm just going to say the next game I really want to see on PC from Sony is Ghost of Tsushima's Director's Cut. that is a perfect PC game because you can play it on your TV and then you can push it over to your Steam Deck and have your save transfer, knock out a lot of the side content on the go, and then when you want to see the big bombastic cinematic story missions, you just go on your PC and play on your TV. It's kind of like the best of both worlds, and honestly, you could just nip the middleman out by making it so you could transfer your save between PC and PS5. I hope that's something we see in the near future. I mean, seeing The Witcher 3 get an update where it has cloud saves now between PC, PS5, I guess PS4, that is pretty damn awesome. Next up, if you guys have been watching the channel for a while, you know that one of the biggest things me and Ray like to complain about on the PS5 is the Explore tab on the homepage of the PlayStation 5. There's nothing really inherently too wrong with it, I guess, other than the fact that when you turn on your PlayStation 5, unless you put the thing into rest mode while you were playing a game, the first tab you see is that Explore tab, and it's just basically a giant billboard for PS5 games, and the algorithm there just honestly isn't that smart. It always recommends games that I personally have never played on my console. I played Fortnite once on PS5 and it's the only game I see on there. Like when there's new DLC for Resident Evil Village, that's a game that I really enjoyed on PlayStation 5, and then the DLC came out, and if I wasn't like keeping my finger on the pulse during that DLC's development, the Shadows of Rose expansion, I would have never known it came out because the only thing Sony likes advertising to me on the homepage is just frickin' Fortnite, which I get it. Fortnite's a big game, they make a lot of money on it, but it'd be cooler if they could figure out a way to read what games you play the most through your PlayStation Network account and then make it so that those are the games that are promoted to you on your homepage. And you can even go into the settings and unfollow certain games, and it's super frustrating. I've unfollowed Fortnite multiple times and it gets rechecked in the background of the PS5. So I always have to go and uncheck it manually whenever I see a Fortnite ad, and it's super frustrating. But thankfully it seems like Sony is just answering everyone's calls about the annoying feature that the Explore tab is, because they're silently updating it on the back end without even making you patch your PS5. It's still advertising games that you might not be playing, which is super frustrating, but they've definitely gone ahead and made it way less intrusive, which is a good step in the right direction if you ask me. Now, I first read about this from Logan Moore on comicbook.com. I actually met him for the first time at a PlayStation Experience, so it's cool to see him writing up PS5 updates on a bigger website. But basically what he says this update does is that it makes it so that the new edition of the Explore tab prominently features your own trophy level and contains a section dedicated to friend activity. He does make it clear, like I said, that Sony does still promote games on the Explore tab, but they're making it far less cumbersome and making it feel far less like a glorified ad. And the big crutch that they've had to fall on over the past 2 years is that the homepage of the Xbox Series X is just full of advertisements for Game Pass, even if you already have it. It advertises games that are downloaded on your console. It advertises games you've already beat. Like, the amount of stuff that is crammed into the homepage of the Xbox Series X dashboard, even compared to the Explore tab, is absolutely crazy. But now as time has gone on and Microsoft's cleaned that up a bit and they have a new dashboard update coming that's going to reduce the amount of ads you see, allegedly, it's nice that Sony is countering before that even happens with this amazing new background update for the Explore tab. And the last news story I have for you guys today is that the PlayStation 6 has already leaked. Yes, thanks to this whole Microsoft buying Activision thing and Sony playing dirty and this being dragged on and on and on, and there's so many conversations happening. So what happened is Microsoft has committed to keeping Call of Duty on PlayStation for the remainder of this console generation, and in their wording, in the way they made this statement, they basically said that yes, we will keep Call of Duty on the PlayStation until the next gen console launches, which will either be at the end of 2027 or into 2028. So basically, if you read into that, which honestly isn't hard at all, Microsoft just said the next generation of consoles is going to start in 2028. And honestly, that gives me a lot of peace of mind because we just got the PlayStation 5 2 years ago. There's already rumors of a PlayStation 5 Slim coming next year. And then of course, we know that dev kits are already out there for the PlayStation 5 Pro, which put this generation on a pretty fast track to end even quicker than the PS4 and Xbox One generation did, which honestly I don't like considering how expensive these consoles are, and of course the fact that Sony is about to release new peripherals for them with the PSVR 2. But the way the timing is allegedly going to shake out here, things are actually looking pretty good because that will make this console generation about the same amount of years as the last one, which I feel like is totally fair. Like right at the end of the PlayStation 4 generation, even with the PS4 Pro, is where I really started to feel the wear and tear of games getting way too big for that console. Of course, the PS5 at launch is much more powerful than the PS4 was at launch, which is great, which will future-proof it, which will make games run better longer. But I still think they did a really good job with the PS4 and PS4 Pro, making sure that games were taking advantage of the console all the way up until the end, with of course The Last of Us Part 2 and Ghost of Tsushima. And I guess now Horizon Forbidden West and God of War Ragnarok. Both of those games run incredibly well on the PlayStation 4, but you can hear that thing really creaking in videos I've seen where it's like, oh, okay, these really should be the final games for the console.